can use it for the fringes, but I never throw any pieces away. Because it's too expensive.
Even for medicine pouches.
There's a needle on it.
I have them again.
Ruler, you have to have a ruler.
Scissors.
And measure. Clean it. Tape measure.
That's when you're sweating.
It always has some cleanup done, right? When you put the single piece. You also need to
Hanging up the sides. It's
It looks funny. It looks like a piece size put them down. Okay. I think that's it. If you want to learn, just come down to my house sometime. Yeah? When you have free time.
Yeah, you forgot this, you might need it.
You can use these pieces for, the chokers. Cut them in strips.
Are you gonna have classes down there?
If you want to put it on, you can.
Do you guys want her to come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then have somebody get leather and then take it out. You don't have them. Is it 11:30 now?
No, we're going to go in another room.
No, but is it 11? I'm gonna
Learn some Lummi language. And lunch.
This morning, I think is well led to tell the story. This will be a legend story that I'm going to tell you. Children, before I tell the story, I remember when I was a little boy, in my time as a little child, there were no televisions and there were no radios. Now, you just imagine about homes out where there were no radios or no televisions. It's pretty quiet in the evenings. So our people, before the white people came, they've had ways to entertain their children. And telling legend stories were very important in those days. Legend stories were told not just as a story, but there was a follow-up on every legend story. I will just refer to the fox. The fox was a smart animal, and the fox would always try to outsmart the other animals, just to be, always trying to be above all the rest of the animal family. But I'm going to tell a story about the raven, and first the coyote. Years ago, way back many years, the coyote was called a coyote god because the coyote was the one that laid the salmon in the rivers. Every river, the coyote was the one that laid the salmon into these rivers. That's what this is, a legend story of a coyote. Well, the coyote started from the north and crossed every river and laid salmon, planted salmon in these rivers. And the coyote was instructed by the Great Spirit to be honest about the work that he was doing. Well, if he didn't plant any salmon in any of these rivers, there would be just no salmon coming up, because in the beginning there was no, it was not planted, the fish was not planted in that river. So Coyote started from the north and went all the way around, everywhere, planting salmon in these rivers, the Coyote God. After doing that, and then the raven, Mother Raven, was all alone, and she had a daughter with her. And then the people that lived above, quite a ways up the river, had their villages there. And the salmon used to come up all the time, coming up to that, passing the village. Then they'd go up a little above their village, and then they'd take the salmon and take it and preserve it for the winter. They were smoking their salmon, getting their food from the river. It went on for years. Pretty soon, one season there, the salmon disappeared. The people waited up here for the salmon to come up the river, and just very, very few came through, and they wondered what happened. They just were unable to get their salmon because the salmon was not going up the river. Well, Mother Raven, quite a ways down the river, had built a trap, or they set a trap right across the river, fish trap, to prevent the fish to go on up to the river to where these people live. Mother Raven got selfish. She didn't want it. She wanted all the salmon, so she built a trap across the river. And her and her daughter, they got all the fish trapped into this great trap, and then they carried it out and they built a great big place to smoke the salmon. So Coyote came along. Coyote started traveling, and noticed they came to this village up above the Mother Raven's home, was where she had her trap set, and the fish were not unable to pass by this trap, just a very few. Well, Coyote asked the people, well, what is wrong here? I don't see no salmon in this river. I planted salmon. There was salmon planted in this river. There should be a lot of salmon up here. Many salmon. Well, they said, we've waited and waited and waited, and they have never showed up anything. So he said, well, I'm going to go down the river, and I'm going to find out where that salmon is disappeared to. So, on the way going down, the fox came in the scene. The fox was also traveling. He met up with old man Coyote, and he said to old man Coyote, what's troubling you? He says, our people up here are not getting the salmon for their winter supply. There is something wrong. So, Spiao is the name, Indian name of fox. Spiao said, well, I'll go down and find out what is wrong. So he walked down amongst the river banks going down towards the sea, to where the fish was coming. Walked many miles, finally come to this trap. He didn't go right in, he just kind of a bend like that, and here the trap was set. The fox sat there and he looked down the river, and he could see Mother Raven and her daughter taking fish from the trap and carrying it to her house. and you could see the smokehouse where they were smoking the salmon, the fire or the smoke, you could see it going up. So he said, oh, he says, that's what's wrong. Well, we'll have to figure out something. Mother Raven is selfish. She don't want to see the people have the food that they, for the winter, to preserve their food up there in the village. So he sat there and watched them and watched them. Pretty soon, Mother Raven went and got more fish and brought and carried it to their smokehouse. All at once they looked down, and here came a little crow flying, and it sat on the top of a post and told, excuse me, Raven, there's a little baby raven way down the river, side the river, crying. A little baby raven, small. I thought I would tell you. Well, Mother Raven got excited, and she told her daughter, well, we're going to check up and find out, see if this is so. So they left. They traveled down to where the little baby raven was crying all alone. Then the fox went down, and he looked at the trap then, and oh, how that trap was fixed that no fish would come up past the trap. You could see the fish swimming around in that trap. So, well, after he seen just everything, and he looked around and seen the salmon that was hanging up where they were smoking the salmon, Mother Raven and her daughter. But Fox became hungry, so he went into their house, and this Mother Raven's house, and began to eat food in there. They figured just before the Mother Raven and her daughter was coming back home, he left the building and went back up the river. And he stayed quite a ways hiding himself and watching. Well, when they got back, they had this little baby raven that was found down the river. Helpless little baby raven crying. So they took care of the little raven. And then they started work again. And in those times, a wolf or any of these animal families could disguise or turn themselves, if they wanted to be a bird, they were able to do that. So the fox then turned around and thought to himself, maybe the best thing the only way that I could get into this building would be that I would turn myself into a baby crib. So he did, and then the baby crib drifted down the river. And when it come to where the trap was, the trap set across the river, naturally it stopped. Drifted again, the trap. So Mother Raven was working, the daughter looked and seen this crib right up against the trap. So she said, Mother, there's a baby crib here. Oh, it's a nice little crib. Well, Mother Raven said, all right, take it. It must be that the people up in that village up there were on their canoes. And I imagine they paddled their canoes and the canoe tipped over and this little crib drifted down. So we'll take the crib and put it into the house. So they carried the crib. And they never ever knew that they were carrying old Sbiel, the fox, because he turned himself into a crib only to get him to help the people up above, the people that needed fish. So the next day, he was in that house now, and they laid the little baby in the crib. The next day, the mother Raven and her daughter had to leave. again, just for a short time. So they took the little baby raven with her. And now this was the time that Fox had to work very fast to break down the trap. First, he went out and he taken all the smoked salmon. He just took it out, and he was carrying it out first. And then when he figured he had enough, then he went out to the trap. Then he broke the lead and the trap. They just tore the trap all down, and the fish went on up the river. Mother Raven and her daughter came back home. The first thing they noticed that the trap was all destroyed. Mother Raven turned around and told her daughter, there's something wrong here. And I kind of think now I know what it is. This happened when we were gone. Surely it's from the crib. Baby. So the salmon that was all piled up, the spiel also, the fox also carried that away, only to bring it up to the people that were in need of food up the river. When they came into the building, their home, they found the crib was gone. You see, after the fox had destroyed the trap, and then he carried all the salmon that was already prepared for the winter, started carrying it away. And that is what he was doing now when they came home. And Mother Raven then turned around and said, well, we have been tricked. That's that fox again that done this work. She knew then. So after the fox had taken all the smoked salmon, the food that the Mother Raven had in her smokehouse, and started carrying this food up to the village up above. And then this legend story, as I told you, it's not just it was never told to be just a story. There was a follow-up on it. And there were two things there. First, don't be selfish like the raven. Now, this is the teaching our people gave after telling the story now to children. Don't be selfish like the raven, because your ways is going to tell on you, and you're going to suffer the rest of your life for your selfishness. Now, if you noticed, if you ever traveled to go up the rivers towards where the spawning grounds are, you will always notice the raven. The legend story said that the raven had become a very poor bird. And it's very true. If you go up towards the Nooksack River, way up above Deming, and where you'll see salmon laying after spawning, they die. And this is what the raven is feeding on. Just because she tried to take the best of the salmon, you see. Now, a raven become a very poor bird because of her selfishness. If she didn't do that, the raven would have had better food than what they're eating now. This is why the raven today is just a bird that flies. There's no special food for ravens. Just whatever they pick up is what they eat. the best of food is gone because she stopped and got selfish when she seen all this food of fish going up the river. The fox now is another spiao, as we call, that's referring to a fox. And you say spiao, the name of the fox. Fox has been is a smart animal. He is a smart animal, but he gets carried away by trying to outsmart the other animal family. I have legend stories to tell. I could tell you of how the fox had been defeated in their effort of trying to be a show to the animal family that he is the smartest animal in the mountains or wherever they live. So the follow-up on this is don't be selfish. And the next thing is don't try to be smarter or try to outsmart your neighbor or your friends or anyone else. God, you'll get defeated, sure. This is why the elderly people, my parents, sit us down on the floor and say, listen now, I'm going to tell you a legend story. And we all had to sit there and pay attention to mother and dad that were telling us these stories because it meant a lot. There's a lot of meaning to these stories. Children, I want to say this. I don't have much time, about 10 minutes, 9 minutes. That I'm glad that you children are putting a lot of interest in your time in life. I would like to see you put all your all and all in whatever you're asked to do, only to build yourself up. Because education is the most important thing in these days. When I was a child, I grew up to be a young man, it was no problem to get jobs. It was no problem to go out and work and make a living for your family. Today it takes people now is trained for a job or with a diploma showing of your interest that you've had in school. Another thing, children, I want you to hear this. This is important. After you get to high school, a lot of you, or many of you, are in high school now. But this is important. Your obedience and your effort in trying to learn the important thing of life, if you're a good child, an obedient child, your reference when you graduate high school and you feel that you want to have, and a good job may be offered to you, and your reference from the school is something that's very important. You don't just go and say, well, I want a job. They're going to look at your references. How have you been in your attendance in school? Have you been a child that put a lot of effort in studying and trying to build yourself up to where it would pay off in your later time? Because the education is very important. You can't get away from education. Oh yes, you can, but you're not going to get anywhere. To be a dropout is one of the saddest things nowadays. You go so far and quit, and then your jobs is hard to get, children. Very hard to get. So there, I encourage you, be obedient wherever you're at, and be willing to work and do what you're asked to do, and pay attention And these teachers and instructors are teaching you. And if you remember these things, it's going to help you along as you go on in your school time. So this is my really, I feel towards you children. I'm very proud of you because I've worked with children here for many years. And this year that I have children, or Lummi language that I have been teaching, I'm very, very happy about you children, that you're putting a lot of interest in this, and many of you, it's just coming natural to you. And I hope that when I get through here, that you're going to progress, that you're going to put more interest in your culture. Don't forget your culture altogether because you're going to school. The advice, the Indian that gave advice to his children, keep that and go on with your schooling, and you will be better. You'll live a better life and a happier life. I believe my time is about. Say again, children, be obedient. I'm proud of all that. That's all. Wait a minute, sit down.